You have to consider the army of men who came this way looking for gold as well as building the infrastructure of this country.
In the early days of this city, most of the population was male. The ratio of men to women was 30-1.
There's a lot of guys, you know, and not only did you need entertainment and a way for these guys to let off some steam in terms of a bar, there needed to be female companionship.
The face of it is when people say prostitution, you think downtown East Side. You think Hastings, you think women walking around in high heels and fishnet stockings. That is a small percentage of the prostitutes in Vancouver.
The fact that workers are on the street is the result of the current legal framework, because making brothels illegal means you have to go somewhere else.
The laws regarding prostitution have always been somewhat vague and a little bit difficult both to define and enforce. Over time, decades and decades, the laws that have evolved have decentralized prostitution and unintentionally created environments where women would be working on their own instead of inside in brothels.
My personal story in the sex trade is that I started when I was 15 years old. I was propositioned by a friend. At first I said no because I always told myself that I would never do that. And, you know, I had principles about myself. But, you know, he planted a seed, and I found out later that that's how it works. You know, you plant the seed with the girl, they say no, and then 2 weeks later they're calling you back going, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I mean, these guys have it down to a science. It's, you know, and that's how a lot of my friends got pulled into it too.
Well, when I was about 27, I personally needed a lot of money to survive. I met a girl that was a friend of a friend. She had a nice car and she had nice things, and I asked her where she got her things. And she introduced me into the sex trade, and I initially started out with her. She was really nice to me and really helped me get started. And from there, I met somebody else, and I've been working with her for about 3 or 4 years. And she's I call her my mama, and she finds me my clients, and we make money together.
What I was a part of was, you know, the Craigslist girls. You know, you post an ad, you get a call, you go to it. Something that's changed in the industry that really kind of shocked me was they shut down the adult section on Craigslist. It's not surprising because there was a lot of issues stemming from that, so I'm not surprised that they shut it down, but it just means that there's all these girls that have suddenly been forced to go onto the streets.
Now, communication in public is illegal, so what does that mean? The traditional picture of the woman leaning in the car window negotiating her terms of employment. She's also doing an environmental scan. Does the guy have a machete, a gun, a rape kit? They're not allowed to do that anymore. They have to get into the car, close the door, and drive away before they even know what this guy is willing to pay or what he wants.
I wish that people wouldn't look down on it as they do today.
You know, we have to acknowledge that we did help to pioneer this country. We were some of the first women here. How can we now say, get rid of sex workers? It's absolutely unbelievable the way that the stigma plays into this.
The women have done a lot to protect themselves. They've done a lot to lobby for laws, for changes in the laws that keep them outside. Organizations like Atira have provided housing for women who want to get off the street. And the VPD itself, the Vancouver Police Department, has a program called Sister Watch, where female police officers interact routinely with women in the sex trade so that they know that they have open ears and hearts and minds if they do need help.
I remember the first time it was actually time to do it. You know, we'd been preparing and, you know, getting a place for me to do it, and I felt like all my instincts were screaming at me to like run out the door. But I really wanted to impress this guy, and I really wanted the money, because it was a lot of money. And I just remember that, like, afterwards I felt so dirty and so used, and I was just like crying. But then after time, I didn't feel anything. You know, I stopped feeling.
I remember once a nurse called me, and I went to this apartment in the east side, and there was a young man there, probably 22 years old, and he had involuntary seizures. He was drooling. I mean, he couldn't speak, and so what was wrong with him was physically dilapidating, but not mentally. He was alive inside, and he was going to die. So I got in the bed with him, and we giggled and laughed and, you know, communicated in the most human and intimate of ways. To me, that is not me being raped. That is not some pervert. That is a young man who deserved to feel like a man once before he died.
For me personally, though, I really liked and always felt comfortable helping men. My clients have been people from all walks of life. Young guys, middle-aged guys, and older gentlemen. People that have monies and lives already established, and they're not just drunk people coming in and calling girls to be abusive. It's nice people that are willing to pay money to girls just to spend some time with them.
The recent decision by the Ontario Supreme Court set a legal precedent whereby it infringes upon a citizen's freedom of speech the way the law is currently written. It will likely change, and I think it's very likely that legal brothels will be up and running, if not within the year, within the next couple of years.
I think people are afraid to talk about the sex industry because it's like a dark part of our society. But I mean, the reality is it's been around since man had mojo. And I think that as long as people view prostitutes as the separate race, we won't be solving any of the most prominent issues anytime soon.